Absolutely, and we won't have to read all this, but this is once again this I said about this guy Ryan, this journalist Ryan Grimm from Dropsite. This is one of if you go onto his website Dropsite news.com and read just this. It's a little bit long, the article, but it's called Epstein, Israel, and the CIA: How the Iran-Contra planes landed at Les Wexner's base. And so it basically turns out that like the Les Wexner's planes that he ended up planes from Iran Contra, like once they were decommissioned or they were found out what they were, like they were used for like drug trafficking and stuff. Les Wexner bought these planes, and as he got these planes, Epstein helped bring the planes, used him. And one, I don't know if it's the actual Aliyah Express that was a drug trafficking plane, but I mean, it could be possible. Yeah. I'm not making that tie. So here are my personal reasons why I think it's possible that Epstein worked for Israel. It's interesting. So once again, when people say like, "Well, was Epstein Israeli intelligence and whatever?" We can't fully confirm it currently right now. But I think personally, for me, I think it's very possible. A lot of people say, "Was he Mossad? Was he?" Some of the other Israeli things, Amman, which is another intelligence agency, and then there's Shin Bet, which is like kind of their version of the FBI in a way. But I think it's more along the lines of that he worked with these people, because I think these guys, Maxwell and Epstein, like you need people in between. Like if you need to get a deal done between like Russia and China or something,
yeah,
right? Like you need other people in the way. You can't have the actual people doing it. You need these kind of no-name, what's the word?
Just middlemen, just intermediaries. Yeah. That makes sense.
Mercenaries, kind of in a way, almost.
I do wonder if that's like if they were American intelligence, or if it was a similar type of thing where you wouldn't really classify them as intelligence, but they're maybe intelligence assets.
Absolutely, and we won't have to read all this, but this is once again this I said about this guy Ryan, this journalist Ryan Grimm from Dropsite. This is one of if you go onto his website Dropsite news.com and read just this. It's a little bit long, the article, but it's called Epstein, Israel, and the CIA: How the Iran-Contra planes landed at Les Wexner's base. And so it basically turns out that like the Les Wexner's planes that he ended up planes from Iran Contra, like once they were decommissioned or they were found out what they were, like they were used for like drug trafficking and stuff. Les Wexner bought these planes, and as he got these planes, Epstein helped bring the planes, used him. And one, I don't know if it's the actual Aliyah Express that was a drug trafficking plane, but I mean, it could be possible. Yeah. I'm not making that tie. But so here are my personal reasons why I think it's possible that Epstein worked for Israel. So there was this guy, man, Ehud Barak. We've shown pictures of him. Like he's like pretty famous guy. Like he was also a prime minister. So we've named like said like 3 or 4 of them now that have been involved, right? So he visited Jeffrey Epstein over 30 times. He was a foreign head of intelligence. He was also almost known as it's possible. I wrote this down, litigate this with Dan, look closely at their communications through emails. But basically some recent emails that have been released through 2013 to 2017 that like Barak and Epstein would argue through a lot of and they would argue a lot over email about like certain deals they were doing. Here's just a picture of him outside the New York apartment. Actually, this is actually another picture of him down below where he's wearing a facial covering going into Epstein's.
Trying to hide. Yeah.
It's just like, why are you trying to hide at Epstein's apartment?
Very suspicious, but
absolutely. No, I'm just saying, I'm just presenting some things. I'm saying, I mean, a little bit of this is like, why, like, do you think he's intelligence or not, Ben? I'm saying this is what journalists are coming out saying now. So there was this other man, Yanni Koren. This has been through some of the recent emails too, where he was another head of military intelligence who stayed at Epstein's place in Manhattan numerous times, once again between 2013 to 2016. And we know through the emails that he was arranging high-level meetings between the U.S. and Israel, Yanni Koren and Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein also brokered this is the third one. He brokered a key Israeli security detail. This is through Breaking Points. And I think, Dan, when you see this, I know I'm going rapid fire on this,
Man, I've been wanting to cover this for a while. It is so.
but I think they bring this up pretty fairly
for reporting it. Let's put this up here on the
and pretty
screen.
accurately.
So I'm gonna. What we focused on for quite some time. What the emails show is that Barack, even after he's out of office and he's staying at the Epstein mansion while having a mask on his face,
we just showed you the picture.
The New York Post, and while he's receiving this money from Epstein for his military intelligence, investments, and why he also is getting paid some, $2 million by the Leslie Wexner Foundation for 2 reports, one of which he never finished, which was controlled by Jeffrey Epstein, who was the chairman of said foundation. While he's doing all of this in the background, he is here setting up these daily correspondence and meetings for Barack. Keep in mind, this is all after Epstein is a registered sex offender. 2000, remember the timeline?
Yep.
2013 to 2016, and leading eventually to some sort of Israeli security cooperation agreement in the future. Now, let's be clear as well. This does not say he was explicitly.
There's a couple more
Israeli
minutes.
agent, and I've never actually even said that. What I have said is that he was a very useful individual to people in power and intelligence networks. Probably the most odd: Saudi Arabia, Russia,
Mohammed bin Salman,
CIA, all of these people. But it was when he got in trouble for some of his proclivities that's when those apparatuses kind of kicked into gear, and it's been explicitly denied now at the highest level by the former Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett. Now the head of Mossad, who was recently on Barry Weiss's show, said, "Oh, absolutely."
From CBS,
Mossad. Remember, not worked with Mossad. Those are very different things that you could lay out.
Once again, to be clear, like Soccer just said, like working for and with Mossad.
They can come out and deny that too. Would you believe it from the CIA if they said something like that? So anyway, very important piece of evidence in all of.
Yeah, it's pretty convincing. I think the idea that he was useful makes a lot of sense, considering how much he was hanging out with Ayub Barak.
Yeah.
I mean, and it is always suspicious. Anytime someone's hanging out with him post his conviction, it's like there's no possible way. You can't even argue that they don't know.
Yeah, that's my thing. That's what I think.
Yeah. But they just don't care, I think. I don't know if any of these people were clients of Epstein or not, but they could be.
Ehud Barak is, so once again, even Virginia Gouffre's memoir, this might be my notes later, but in her memoir, she alleges that she was trafficked to a certain Israeli, or a certain prime minister. She didn't list the name, but then she said when she first met him, he had a strong accent, which is going to. But a lot of people believe that's probably, Ehud Barak. So a couple more too. Once again, man, in the mid 1980s. Epstein, before he lived in Manhattan or at the big place or whatever, he joined forces with this man John Pottinger, who was a CIA asset who advised Iranian bankers during Iran-Contra tax avoidance strategies to wealthy clients. Once again, this has just been dropped by Ryan Grimm at Dropsite like a couple months ago. Like at this like I said, Breaking Points, they have like I think 1.5 million subscribers on YouTube. I'm like, this stuff is incredible, man. This is like really hard to like debunk. And once again, dude, number 5, Robert Maxwell's burial or his funeral location. Do you know where that was?
I don't know.
It was at the Mount of Olives, and the Mount of Olives is one of the highest ever honors you can be as in it's like all like prime ministers, former prime ministers are buried there, generals. And one of the quotes at his funeral is that Robert Maxwell has done things for the state of Israel that no one will ever know, which is interesting because, in my opinion, and a lot of some other journalists, I'll leave it up for you to decide, people. My audience, shout out to you if you're still listening. If you haven't unsubscribed yet.
Yep, you're about halfway through here.
With all these things that like this incredible burial and whatever, a lot of people think that Israel probably killed him, like Mossad killed him probably on the boat. I think that's very, very possible. But I think they still, it's interesting. It was more of a thing where, like, you did great things for us, Robert Maxwell. Now we can't help you with this. And,
Yeah, very practical
Israel,
and cold idea.
Everyone knows that Israel
yeah.
and Mossad is the greatest intelligence agency ever known to man, like probably ahead of the CIA. So I think they probably killed him, but then they probably gave him it's, once again, this is all conjecture, but I could see that happening where they still wanted to respect him and give him posthumous. Once again, there were heads of intelligence agencies of Israeli intelligence agencies at his funeral. And it's very interesting because Ghislaine believes rogue Mossad agents killed her father. Not actual Mossad, but ex-rogue Mossad agents killed her father.
That's interesting. Did she say any specific reason, or just because he knew too much, or?
Well, it's interesting because there's records too of Ghislaine erasing and destroying evidence on the yacht, like when investigators came to search it. So Adnan Khashoggi, and back to Epstein, he was one of Epstein's earlier connections, once again in the mid 1980s, and it was never confirmed specifically when they met, but once again, Epstein brought him on as a client to to help him with financial guidance. And it's interesting, one of the banks that Adnan Khashoggi used to smuggle arms was this place called the Bank of Credit and Commerce. It was like BCCI. And it turns out that this bank was like used a lot by Pakistan and the CIA, once again through Iran-Contra. And apparently there's this narrative of there was another alleged claims of sex trafficking minors to elites of the United Arab Emirates. So once again, we don't have time to go into it, but there was this it's very interesting because Adnan Khashoggi, through his arms deals, he was known to have all these, once again, like Epstein, very famous clients to come on his boat, like feed them whatever, like make them drink whatever, like bring whatever women onto the boats. But then also he was known to have compromising bugged boats as well, with audio and recordings as well. And so there's this guy Ari Ben Menash who's made a lot of I'm kind of confused. I guess he's ex-Israeli intelligence, so I guess he's not in it anymore. But he's made these claims that Robert Maxwell and Epstein were part of they were Mossad-led honeypot operations to blackmail people. Once again,
that's an interesting kind of theory. I don't know if was the intention at first, but I'm sure after they started getting clients, yeah. Why wouldn't you want to use that against someone else? I mean, you can basically have full control over some of the most powerful people in the world. So it just seems like an obvious thing you'd want to do if you were an intelligence agency. That's just an opportunity.
So what is it like hearing? Because I know you. What is it like hearing this real time? Like, I'm not saying you have to agree with everything I'm saying. I'm trying to sort things or source things as good as I can on this. But it's weird. You see like a whole nother side of Epstein, like as this, even in the New York apartment, they found like a passport for a fake passport that he had, and a lot of it was apparently this is one of the people in Breaking Points make this connection where it's possible that when he was doing arms trafficking, like it was like a get out of jail free card that he was like it was to Saudi Arabia. And once again, we know that like we just saw pictures of Mohammed bin Salman and Epstein and all these things.
Yeah, it's it makes sense. It's a lot of information at once. I think it's possible for sure that he was a Mossad asset. I don't want to just say it definitively just because.
Oh, you don't want to agree with me blindly?
Yeah, no.
Yeah. So once again, this is for, like I said, this episode is specifically when I heard Israel is really a big thing about the Epstein files, and this is I'm bringing these up to say these are why people think this.
Yeah, and it's interesting stuff. I mean, I think me and the audience are both at the same time just trying to digest all of this information.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, man. And we're going to be getting off the Israel stuff, and we'll move to Trump quickly, and then we'll wrap up the episode. But one other thing too is that this reporter Seymour Hersh. Have you ever heard of him?
No. I have not. I don't think so.
Okay, well, it's really interesting. So he was a guy that brought up, or he what's the word? He broke the stories of like the My Lai massacre in Vietnam and Abu Ghraib, which was the torture prisons.
Yeah.
And really quick thing too, I found out that like part of like the ISIS beheadings that happened like in 2014, 2015 when we were in high school was actually like a mockery of how a lot of like, you know, the orange jumpsuits which we gave to like, you know, who we thought like were terrorists in Iraq, and which a huge amount of them were innocent Iraqis or whatever, was like it was because of like all the you know, human rights violations that happened in Abu Ghraib. But basically this reporter Seymour Hersh, that, you know, basically a credible journalist who broke these crazy stories about like things about that, you know, Americans were doing that was just horrible things. So basically this reporter Seymour Hersh, basically he claimed that Robert Maxwell was involved in the kidnapping of this man Mordecai Vanunu, who was an Israeli nuclear scientist. And basically the thought is that Seymour Hersh thought Maxwell told Mossad. This guy came to basically from Israel to Britain to expose these things, and then basically just a couple of days later, because Robert Maxwell was at this place when this happened, where Mossad agents ended up capturing him in Britain, like in an operation, and brought him back to Israel, where he's in prison for 20 something years.
Yeah, that is crazy. That's was that a movie that you were talking to me about?
I think it might be actually a movie. I haven't seen it yet though.
Okay.
So Maxwell sued Seymour Hersh and ended up losing the case. He sued him for like millions of dollars.
Just for defamation?
Yeah, for defamation. Yeah, and so once again, as I said earlier, I think it's possible that Epstein was taught this blackmail operation by Adnan Khashoggi and people like that. And once again, this is just to give more context about like how Epstein really like, oh, if he's doing all this stuff with world leaders, Mohammed bin Salman, you know, from once again, whether you're the heads of Google or whatever, it's like,
yeah,